Hello, people. I'm Matthew Russell-Jones, and welcome to Life After Jazz Hands, the podcast where we discuss the many lives and paths taken during and after training in the performing arts. Now, today's guest is particularly prevalent for me. It's another one of my college alumni. And to explain this person's story, journey, where they've got to, was the seed really of why I started this podcast. It was back in 2021 during a Zoom reunion that hearing this person's story of a non-profit organization that he'd set up in California to help the homeless, we were just absolutely dumbfounded and, well, to be honest, proud of what this person was doing. It's the wonderful Davinder. Duwara Consciousness Foundation, which he set up with his wife, is rooted in Sikh Values. To explain, they have food trucks that feed the homeless, shower trailers so they can shower. It's served over 15,000 people, especially during turbulent times in the USA, including Hurricane Helen. Dav's story ranges from Birmingham to London to musical theatre to ethical baby clothing to Bikram Yoga to California. So let's go on with his interview and speak to Dav about this amazing journey and where he's at today. Welcome to Life After Jazz Hands. I'm your host, Matthew Russell-Jones, and I'm thrilled to say that today's guest is another of my college alumni, someone whose journey in life I'd say is probably the most momentous of the class of 2004. So I'm very pleased to welcome today's guest, Davinder. Woo! How are you, Dav?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just to say I'm thrilled that you're here, and it was a bit of a surprise when you messaged me, because when I set out to do this podcast, and I will explain, I think you were pretty much number one of the people that I wanted to talk to because I knew of your journey. So there is a lot to talk about your journey, where you are so far. But genuinely, I am not just saying this. Like, thank you just for being willing to share your journey with me today and reaching out, because I'm not just saying that. Like, it really was hearing your journey and what you'd done that started the seeds of me wanting to talk to the rest of our college year about everything. But let's go back to Dav, from Birmingham originally. Tell me about you growing up in Birmingham. Tell me about your life and what you were like as a kid.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me here, and listening to all my alumni, students, and friends. It's been hugely inspirational and opened up a lot of thoughts that the thoughts that I had of individuals or groups of people versus what they were actually thinking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Very different. So thank you to everybody who shared their stories as well. Davinder here, born into a Punjabi Sikh family, very traditional. I'm the youngest of four siblings. And growing up, I used to be even my siblings would say this, I used to be a very frustrated and angry kid. Going to school, I used to get bullied, which I'm very thankful to my bullies, because it got me into sparring, fighting, boxing, or what have you. So I was born and raised into a lot of physical altercations, even as a teenager, to the point where I got, I think what changed is when I finally got a glass bottle in my eye. And when I was in the middle of a fight, I lost 40% eyesight. And that was very difficult. But parents were very traditional, came from India, Punjab in the 70s. I was brought up saying you're going to get an arranged marriage. You're going to take over the business, which was a corner shop, or you're going to become an engineer or a doctor. And at 16, I went, no, I think I want to wear a jock strap and start doing ballet of some sort.
Yeah.
I think that I was very fortunate. I mean, bless my parents. They came into the Western world from the Eastern mindset. and they did the best they can with what they had, and I never went without a meal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very thankful to them. Being a father of two now, I'm very thankful for them for you know for bringing me up the way they did. Um,
Can I ask an interject, if you don't
Sure.
mind? Where do you think, if you said you were quite angry as a kid, where do you think a lot of that came from?
My older siblings beating the shit out of me,
Mm,
and then me fighting back, but I didn't have the strength to fight back.
mm,
And then my uncles, my parents encouraging it, saying piss him off even more, which pissed me off even more. Um, and to them, it was just playing. I see it with my two sons when they were little kids. My older son used to poke at my younger son, and it's the best thing that happened to me, because I know what to do with my two boys, and my two boys now at 18 and 16 are best friends because
yeah.
I stopped it when they were kids. Um, but it's in my head, it started with siblings, you know, poking and prodding at me and not stopping. And it's affected our relationship, especially with myself and my brother.
Mm,
It's affected us a lot to the point where, we don't have a relationship anymore. And my parents are like, why do you guys not have a relationship anymore? But it is what it is. I'm very thankful for it because it's certainly taught me what to do with my boys,
mm-hmm.
and if I didn't go through that, then I don't think that my boys would have the relationship
Yeah.
that they had.
What I find so interesting is I just always, what I remember of you, Dav, you were a really quite gentle, soft, nice guy. So it's interesting hearing that that's what prior to college you were like, because I never personally never ever saw or experienced that.
I think,
Yeah.
I would love to ask my first year, um, you know, squad, because I think that I was very, what I've learned as well with this podcast is what I think of myself
Mm,
and what other people thought were two very different
yeah.
things. But in my head, I thought that I thought I was very angry. I was in my head anyway, and I was very pushed back. I didn't let anyone in. And there was a lot of things that were going on. It was although I went to Sandwell College and, I went for acting, but then I accidentally fell into dance. I was like, what's that about? And then you can sing. And I was like, I can't sing. So my first class doing ballet was 16 years old.
Mm,
And this was the first time that, you know, people who are gay or lesbian was first
yeah.
introduced to me. And, there were classmates who were that, and I never associated with them because I was born and raised in a very in a community where, you know, gays are not human. Stay away from blacks; they're all aggressive. Whites are just scammers. Muslims don't even look in their direction. So I came from and again, I'm not blaming my parents, for it. It was a huge community thing. So when I first got to college, I remember, I mentioned this to you as well. It was like the first week, and I was getting into this jock strap, which is extremely uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's like a
I'm so
rope up your
pleased I don't have to wear
backside.
one anymore.
Yeah. And I remember there was two second years, so we were first years. There's two second years in our changing room necking up with one another. This was extremely foreign to me, and it made me feel extremely uncomfortable because I had this in my head. But again, it was the best thing that ever happened because it opened up my horizon,
Mm,
and it was a huge adjustment for me in the first year, and I don't think I got on with anyone in my head. I think that I was quite aggressive with people within my class. I think that I was hard to understand. I never spoke to a handful of people in my first year.
mm.
And I just want to apologize to everybody for being, if I
Well,
was an asshole to you.
you don't have to do that. We'll get to this. Let's quickly backtrack. So you discovered performing arts at Sandwell College in Birmingham,
Yes.
and then what was the journey of like auditioning for Arts Ed and that? Did you like, how did that come to be? Oh my god, I can actually do this as a career.
Well, I remember when I was 17. we had the opportunity to go to the West End to watch Rent. And my performing arts department set it up. I took 4 Red Bulls with me on the coach because I wanted to be awake and alive to watch Rent because I've always listened to it on the CDs.
Mm-hmm.
And we got there and we watched it. And it was, I cried in the second half. And I didn't cry because Angel died. I cried because I was thinking, I need to get here. And there was a number of reasons. Number one, I loved the theatre. I loved Rent as a musical. I listened to it over and over again. And when you first listen to a musical, it doesn't make sense to you because you're not watching it. And then I'm watching it. I say, oh, that's.
Yeah.
And secondly, I wanted to get out of my environment at home and my community, the Punjabi, Indian community as well. So it was a get out clause for me as well. Um, you know, I had friends within my Punjabi community who, there's a big problem with, alcohol, drugs, domestic violence within our community that no one talks about.
Yeah.
And, all of that was taking place in various, areas within the community. And I just wanted to get the hell out. And so all this emotion came out. Anyway, and then we got back, dialed it in, started to learn how to do, really took dancing seriously and singing seriously. And then 17 years old, almost 18, this glass bottle situation happened in Birmingham. And that was the same year that Titanic came out. And so after multiple operations in my left eye, I had to lie down because they took the jelly out my eye and it was just gas in there. I had to lie down on my left side because the gas had to settle down on this, the left side of my eye. And I was watching Titanic and Leonardo DiCaprio and how good looking he is. And I was like, he's the hero of the, and I thought, my career's over. I'm done. And it was one of the lowest points of my life, I have to say, looking back. And then 18, I became 18. I went back to college, and my teachers encouraged me and said, "Listen, you can do it. Don't let this stop you." Although at that point it did. And then someone mentioned, you should go to, audition for these places in London. I was like, "That's not going to happen for me." I said, "Listen, there's a place called Arts Ed. Go there and audition. What's going to happen? They're going to say no. You've already accepted they're going to say no, but just go." So I went, I auditioned. They said, "Thank you, goodbye." And then a number of weeks later, I got the letter saying, "Congratulations, you've got in and you've got a scholarship and a grant."
Wow.
Because my parents said, if you think you're going to go to London, you're going to pay for yourself. And we knew how expensive. I can't remember how expensive it was.
But even the rent. And then you've got food on top.
Yeah.
Little things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the fact that, oh no, I think they sent us a letter saying, "Congratulations, you got in."
And then we got a scholarship about a few weeks later, wasn't it? And we had
that's
to
what it
wait
was.
to see if we could go.
And I was like, oh
Yeah.
God, I just need to get, and I got both.
Yeah.
And I can't believe, I don't know how many people got the grant and the scholarship,
Yeah.
but I got it and I couldn't believe it. And I said, "Mom, Dad, I'm going." They said, "Nope, you're not going." I said, "I'm fucking going." And that was it. I just made, and it happened. And Mom and Dad, as we got closer into the summer, they said, "Okay, go," and I went, and it was just I couldn't believe I got in because I genuinely thought I was that crap at singing, dancing. I thought I was okay at acting, but looking back, I think I was not so good at acting either. One of the few that never stuck with it. So, yeah, that's how Arts Ed happened, through the lowest of the low with the eye situation to the highest of the high of not only getting in but getting the scholarship and the grant. It was unbelievable.
Wow. And a few interesting things there. Firstly, Wayne Perry, who I interviewed earlier this season, who went to Arts Ed before us. I was wondering if he probably was in Rent at the time that you went to watch, which is really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And another thing, you just talking about that, I mean, that's in a way what's so amazing, and what's amazing about the arts is you found something that you loved, and it's like finding a purpose, right? Even if it's just for an amount of time, you found a purpose and you had drive, and that's great story to hear all that,
Yeah.
and that you moved. We could talk about your time at arts for so much time, and you've already touched on it, obviously. But if you look back now, because I feel like, as you say, like each year was probably very different
Yeah.
about how you felt in yourself as well. But how do you see it now, looking back on it? Have you ever managed to really sit back and look back at those 3 years?
Always. I came in, I think, a shadow, and I came out of there who could speak properly, who could articulate, who could look at anybody in the eye, whether it's a child or whether it's an older person, or whether it's regardless of sexuality,
Mm.
regardless of color, regardless of, can I say that? Color?
Yeah.
Okay. Regardless of religious backgrounds or non-religious backgrounds, regardless of that, I could speak to anybody.
Mm.
That alone, bearing in mind I came from a very insulated community, was huge. It was massive. Um, the fact that I can, becoming a Bikram Yoga teacher and standing on stage and saying arms over your head, sideways, interlock your fingers, learning 90 minutes of dialogue because of Arts Ed, speaking to yourself today, Arts Ed, having conversations with so many people within DCF, Arts Ed,
Yeah.
having the confidence to move from London to Stoneleigh to America, Arts Ed. Everything that has happened in my life, every success that's happened in my life is due to Arts Ed.
Yeah.
Truly.
Which is amazing to hear, because one of the main things I'm learning from this podcast is how important the arts are for development. It doesn't mean you have to do it and you have to do theatre. It's just the transferable skills, right?
100%.
That are so amazing. We should also touch on the fact that at college, you created your little group, of which you still speak to now.
Yeah.
Stephen, who's been on the podcast, who I adore, who was a year below us, and then Ian, who was the year above as well. And one of my favorite things is knowing that these friendships started then and they still exist now.
Yeah.
Because of it being this intense time. Yeah, talk to me about them quickly.
So, as we were getting towards the end of our first year, there was a gentleman who was there who got kicked out at the end of the first year. I can't remember his name. And I remember Chris Hocking coming up to me and looking at me in the eye, and he goes, "You're on a thread." And that really took me aback. And I was, because I didn't used to learn my lines. I used to go into class, I didn't learn my lines. I was a dick. And when he did that, we had a number of weeks left before class ended. And it was that was, I want to thank Chris for doing that, because that really, I had to step back and go, Davinder, what the hell are you doing here? And that's where it's really weird, because then, like within that week, Sharpie came up to me and he goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm all right. How are you?" "Yeah, I'm cool." Like, "Hey, listen, what are you doing tonight?" And I was like, "Well, because we're hanging out over here, and you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And it's typical straight dude as well. I knew he was straight away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ian Sharp's as straight as the straights of Art Said. Yeah, but we love him for that.
And so I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And because I still had a little bit of bias towards bias. Is that the right word? I still had a little bit of stigma attached to homosexuality, and so I kind of stuck to Sharpie. I didn't even know Sharpie was there up until he came up to me. And then I think at that point, Stephen was back and forth as well. I think he came a couple of times.
He came and stayed with me and Eugene and Mel and did like a few days.
Because I remember Vivian coming up to me and saying, "Hey, do you know there's another Punjabi guy coming?" I was like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah." And I remember meeting him for the first time as well, when he had a day. He spent a day there. And me and him, we kicked it off as well when we first met as well. And I think that first summer, me and Sharpie decided to live together. So we lived together, and we had 2 mopeds, and we used to, drive our mopeds.
The
Obviously, no
mopeds,
tax.
forgotten.
Yeah, no tax, no insurance.
Dear.
Driving to Hounslow, driving back, and we just used to have rice and chicken if we could afford it. Um, and that's how our bond started over the summer. And then obviously Stephen came, and Stephen said, I think he ended up living with someone else. No,
Yeah.
I can't remember. But that's where the bond started, and that's where my confidence after the first year, after Chris doing the
Mm.
string thing, that's where that kicked off. And so, you know, it was a huge deal for me. And coming into the second year, I think I came back, feeling more at home,
Mm-hmm.
more confident, knowing that the people around me are wonderful people, that we're all on our own journey. And yeah, my second year was fabulous, in comparison to my first. My first was such a struggle. And it's kind of funny because my son is at University of Vermont. He's just finished his first year, and he had such a hard first year.
Mm.
And I was like, been there.
Yeah, yeah. But it is true, and those things. The first year, I think we were all just figuring it out, right? I found Scylla in my second year, and she was a massive part of my development as a person and confidence. So it just shows how the individuals that we surround ourselves with, how much they can help us, right? The people. You get to the end of Art Said, and you leave. Talk to me. What in your head? You remember what you were thinking? You were thinking, oh, I've got to go out there and do this now, or what were you thinking, and what happened?
I left with no agent, and I felt extremely deflated. So I was like, I'm Indian, I'm tall, I'm a male. I should have an agent automatically,
Mm.
and it didn't happen. And so I got out, and I started to go out there and started saying, hey, I want to,
Mm.
I was getting auditions, and I got into a movie called Pop Goes a Bhangra, um, because there's the whole East is East, all of that stuff was
Mm.
coming out, right? Yeah, all of that good stuff was coming out. So I got into this movie. It was a low budget movie, and but I was the star. Um, and they had all the makeup and all that. I was like, my God, I think I've made it. Um, Still searching for an agent. I got with an agency. They signed me on, saying if we're only going to sign you on if we can be your agent for this movie. And I went, yeah, go
Mm.
ahead. And then it ran out of budget. I was like,
So did you start filming it? So
yes.
there is footage out there
There is
somewhere.
footage out there, which I'm not going to tell everybody. If you type in that title, it doesn't come up,
No.
but it is out there, and
Yeah.
it's
I'm really surprised that you didn't get an agent. Like, to be honest, I mean, I know we don't know why agents go for people. We do for some reasons, but that really surprises me.
yeah. I mean, I think everything happens for good reason. Everything in life happens for not good reason, but great reasons. And it forced me to get out there and just go,
Mm.
let's go. Did a few shorts, got into off West End theatre productions as well. And at that point, me and the missus, we got married. And then 2006, I got into a show that was going to be 10 months. No, 18 months. And I don't know whether it was Mamma Mia or something. It was a tour. And I told my agent, I said, well, my wife's just got pregnant, and that's 9 months. And you're asking me to go for an 18-month tour. And they literally, I remember the conversation said, well, you either pick being a father, or if you pick being a father, we're done. Or you go on this tour and we carry on our relationship. And I went, pick a father, say goodbye. And
Yeah.
that was the end of my acting career. And
But isn't that crazy? I mean, putting someone on the spot like that, it's not. I don't even think that's a valid question. Like, you can't go away on a tour and leave your wife to just have a baby on her own and not be able to.
full 9 months
Yeah,
plus
yeah,
the
yeah,
first handful of months of being a
yeah.
mother.
Wow. So it just, in a way, you were like, so where'd you go from here? Because if this has been your career up to that point and what you wanted to do and your purpose, how did you then find something new?
Well, what was happening as well, I was kind of getting tired of auditions. And the reason why is because um, 9/11 happened, and every role I was going for was a Muslim terrorist role.
Mhm.
And I went, fuck that. I'm not doing this, man. I'm not going to. I went for a scene, and the scene was like the Muslim brother talking about my sister's private parts and saying, oh, I'm going to give myself up for this and I will have virgins, but I will miss you. It's like, yo, I
Mm.
don't want anything to do with this. And so I was already pulling out of it because of these particular
Yeah.
roles that I was getting. And it was constantly terrorist, terrorist, terrorist. And I was done. Or typical Indian,
I feel like that's only just started to change now, which is what's
yeah,
crazy, right?
yeah,
The ignorance around that. And actually, I suppose being of a South Asian background, that everyone's the same,
yeah,
even though you're different religions and all. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not surprised that you got tired of that.
yeah. But I mean, Stephen didn't.
Yeah.
Stephen didn't. So I mean, I think that was I mean, kudos to him. I don't know how he did it and I didn't, but he kicked ass. Even I mean, I remember he mentioned Bombay Dreams.
Mm.
I should have I should have I should have told Chris Hocking about that because he got the
Yeah,
role.
yeah.
Dang it. But no, I mean, we've always been supportive of each other,
Yeah.
man. I love him. And Sharpie and what have you, man. And
But it's how you look at it. I know some people that can just work as actors and it doesn't matter that much what the work is as long as it's work.
mhm,
But we're all different people,
yeah,
right? And some of us, our conscience comes in first before
yeah.
the role, which is what it was doing. You're like, I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah. So I was almost out of it anyway. So when she did that, I wasn't too hurt. It's
Mm-hmm.
like whatever, because by now I'm married and my wife is pregnant, and I'm thinking, okay, it's time to be a father. I need to start a business
Yeah.
because I'm not going to work for anyone. And then that's where the idea of our first, store came in, which we opened in Clapham when Eshwa was, you know, 3, 4 months old. It's called Cuddle Me Green. It was an organic, eco-friendly baby store where we had bamboo, reusable nappies, rubber wood, toys, and you know, organic, eco-friendly bamboo clothing. Excuse me. And organic cotton and so on and
Mm.
so forth. And that was in Clapham Junction. And it went really well. It was a fabulous store. We made a lot of friends. But then 2008 happened, the crash happened. So from 2006 to 2008, the crash happened and we lost everything. And so at that point, Vanita was pregnant again with Ishan. So we lost the business, to keep it short. We lost the business. Housing was falling apart. I had a 2-year-old child with a pregnant wife, and it got to the point where I didn't have any petrol to put in the car to go to Sainsbury's to buy formula to feed my child. We were dead broke.
Mm.
Houses on the market, um, everybody's selling.
Yeah.
And we were stuck between a rock and a hard place. So, I mean, it was a great store. I think that it would have worked, but hey, everything happens for great reasons.
Yeah.
And during this time, I started, a little known yoga called Bikram, which saved my life. It did. I was starting to get backache, my knees hurt, it was a lot of stress. Um, and Bikram Yoga saved my life. And for the next number of years, I dedicated my life to that.
Where was the first studio you ever went to? Can you
Chiswick.
remember? Oh, really? That
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. I remember
Yes.
Wayne mentioning it
Yes.
when he was he was a second year, and he goes, I'm
Mm.
going to this hot yoga. I was like, of course he's
Because
gay.
Stephen always used to.
Of course he's gay. Of course he's doing
Typical.
this stretchy yoga nonsense. Right. Sorry, Wayne. But he was right. And I remember he came to my studio in Warwick many, many
Yeah.
years later. You
Yeah.
know.
But I mean, I remember Stephen used to do it all the time because it was so good. He said for his flexibility. I'm remembering this that it was there when we were at Arts Ed.
Yeah.
It feels like God. It doesn't feel like it should have. It was been around that long, but it has.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that
Wow.
studio opened it
Yeah.
opened up in 2000, yeah, 99 or 2000.
Wow. It was very early.
Yeah.
And then I mean, looking back as well, like you're very conscious of the world environment and talking about this. When did that first become a thing? I said, was it you said to me, I think you touched on when you knew you were going to have a child come into this world, you wanted to be very careful what they put in their mouths and
Yeah.
their bodies and on their skin.
Yeah. I don't know how it came. I think Vanita was very conscious. She's very organic-y, and she loved the organic clothing, and it came from her. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it happened, and it just stuck on me.
Yeah.
She goes, "Listen, I don't want to put I don't want her to be in what are the nappies called that you just use and
Yeah, it's the
throw away?
Pampers. Yeah.
Pampers."
Yeah.
Because I don't want that, because the child's genitals get really hot and warm, and
Mm,
it's not good for the testicles, so on and so forth. So we need to not only get it for his sake, but then also, it costs £1,000 to buy 20 or 30 bamboo reusable,
wow.
and you just throw them in the washing machine, and
Yeah.
and you throw the poo away, and it's great. It's great for them. It's natural cotton,
Yeah.
natural fibers on their skin. And it made sense to me, and I said, "Well, let's do a business out of it." And she goes, "Well, how?" Because Vanita was a corporate lass, so she worked for Barclays Bank, she worked for insurance companies and stuff. So, I was always the business head and taking major risks, and that was one of them. And she goes, "Let's do it." Thankfully, she said that, and that's how it came
Yeah.
about. So it came from the
Yeah.
missus.
Wow.
Yeah,
So then, obviously, the financial crash happens. You discover Bikram, but you also this is when big change as well. And this is when you had to move back to the Midlands. You
yeah.
said,
So we ended up selling our house in Surrey. We sold it at a profit, thankfully. So we didn't lose out on money with regards to that, but we did lose out because we were still paying rent on the shop that we had
yeah,
for another 6 months,
yeah,
and the rent was like £8,000, £7,000. And we were
wow,
paying that whilst living in, but we were getting shot hard.
yeah,
And whatever money we had profit wise from the house ended up at that rent. We
yeah,
had some change. Um, and then my father-in-law is a GP, is a doctor, and he says, "Hey, why don't you become a practice manager? You know how to talk, you know how to run meetings, thanks to ArtsEd." And I went, "Okay," tried it, did it for 6 months. And then this is when private companies were coming into the National Health Service for primary care. And there's an organized company called Malling Health from West Malling. And they were buying up buildings and starting new doctor's surgeries in Coventry and Birmingham, across Birmingham. And I interviewed for them. And they looked at my CV, and they actually said to me after I got the job, they said they thought it was Candy Camera because it said arts educational. And then I had a business whilst I was doing this acting stuff. And they were like, "What kind of CV is this?" And then he became a manager for a
yeah,
doctor's surgery. Kind of nonsense, And anyway, I got the job somehow. It was my first ever interview in the profession, and I
mm,
got the job, thankfully. And I spent 4 years as a practice manager running doctor surgeries across the Midlands. So I was an area manager.
mm,
And then I also used to go to Weston-super-Mare, London, to help new managers as well. And I had the best manager, to the point where I had to get KPIs on a monthly basis. And I used to hit those KPIs every month. So I used to go to Bikram Yoga classes in Leicester at 12 noon. She used to be calling me, emailing me, saying, "Where are you?" And I come out 1:30, all twisted up. And I look and I go, "Hey, Loretta, how's it going?" She goes, "Where you been?" I said, "Yoga." She goes, "What the hell are you doing in yoga?" My answer, because I'm such a dick, I go, "Are you not getting the results that you want?" She goes, "Yes." I go, "Well, then leave me alone. Until you don't get the results, right? Leave me alone.
yeah,
I'll get you your results." And she goes, "You're such an ass." So she was a wonderful manager,
yeah,
yet I hated the fact that I had to answer to someone.
yeah,
I just didn't like it.
yeah.
So that was 4 years of my
Wow.
life.
And I suppose I suppose I don't feel I would call that an ordinary life, but if it was, I suppose, the most kind of 9 to 5 part of your life, I suppose when you've got kids that age, it's probably the best time to do it right anyway as well.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to bring the boys to, whenever he was sick, one of the lads, they used to come to my office and hang out. And yeah, it was good, from
Yeah.
that point of view. I got to spend a lot of time with them as well, as a father. And that
Yeah.
is extremely important. And not many
Absolutely.
fathers out there get to do that.
Yeah.
And I did.
And then so the next thing is actually you getting a Bikram Yoga studio, right? Was that the
Right.
next step?
Yeah. So in 2012, fall, sorry, I live in America, autumn of 2012, I decided to go to, well, the spring, I decided to go to the teacher training in Los Angeles, LAX, with Bikram himself.
Mm.
So I ended up there. It's 9 weeks of doing 2 Bikram classes, one at 8 a.m., one at 5 p.m., and you have posture clinics in between. And then you watch a Hindi movie, a Bollywood movie from 9. He keeps you awake from 9 p.m. to whatever time. And one night we went all the way to 6 a.m. watching back-to-back movies to go to a Bikram class at 8 a.m. And to me, it was the best time. And I thank Arts Ed for it, because Arts Ed breaks you
You
down
got the resilience.
and builds
Yeah.
you back up. And
Yeah.
that's what Bikram Yoga teacher training
Yeah.
did. It breaks you down and it brought you back up again.
So why did they keep you up all night to kind of to show that you still had the energy and the strength to still do another class?
Yeah, or be a dick. I don't know, or both. Because he could. I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was because, honestly, I don't know. But from my point of view, watching people break, saying I'm too tired, I can't do it, and me just having such a great time, um, it was. I do genuinely believe it was to break you down and bring
Yeah.
you back. People used to fall asleep at 11, 12. People used to walk around with water pistols pss, 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 into people's faces, to wake, startle people
Yeah.
up. And I was never asleep. I loved it. Absolutely
Oh.
loved it.
So then did you teach at the studio as well that you ended up
No, so
running?
I finished that and I got back, and everybody said, start teaching straight away. So I used to travel every weekend. And bearing in mind, we got 2 boys and my wife's working full time at that point as well. I used to travel Friday night to Liverpool, teach Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and drive back. And I did that for 6 months, for almost every week. And then come back to Stoneleigh,
Mm.
Coventry, because I had to get classes in. Did that, and then I decided to open up Bikram Yoga Warwick, Warwickshire, which was in Warwick.
Mm.
We opened that in 2013, and it was a great move. I'm so happy I did that. It's still open to this day. Excuse me. And yeah, that was 2013. And then I've always wanted to move to Los Angeles. I've always wanted to move to Southern California. We've all been brought up to Beverly Hills 90210, Baywatch, all of these, all of these
Mm.
sitcoms, so to speak. And I said to Vanita, I said, listen, we have the opportunity to move anywhere. And I said, I want to die in Southern California. But if you want to move to Australia, if you want to move to Hawaii, wherever you want to move, let's move. Let's buy a yoga studio and let's just do it. I know I can do
Wow.
it. No problem at all. It's the easiest business is owning a yoga studio. So we looked at Wollongong. There was a studio for sale there. It's just south of Sydney. I looked at that. We didn't go. Then there was a studio for sale in Hawaii. And I physically flew out, checked it out, didn't sit right. And then 2 studios in Encinitas and Oceanside in
Mm.
North San Diego came up for sale. And San Clemente, which is the southernmost point of Orange County. All three of these 2 and San Clemente was for sale. So me and Vanita went, checked them out, and we went, let's just jump on these 2 studios. It was overpriced for us,
Mm.
but to us, it wasn't just about the money; it was about the lifestyle. The boys were growing up in Kenilworth. They went to school in Kenilworth, but they were always inside. it's always bloody raining.
Yeah.
It's always raining. And I said, I'll do anything for my boys and I'll move to the other side of the world. So that happened and moved to San Diego.
Wow. Um, what few things like that. I mean, that's such a big change, but I also love the let's just do it
Yeah.
kind of attitude to it. What is it about California to you that you love to have kept you there? Could you say that now?
It was a sun, sea, and surf. 80%, 90% of my attitude comes from the weather. And I was becoming a grumpy old man. At 18, I was becoming a grumpy old man. Here I am, 30 something years old, pissed off all the time because of the weather. Although having a wonderful life, my yoga studio was doing fantastic. Um, and I just said, we sh- we should move.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I understand to a lot of people that's a big deal, but to me, it's not. What's the
It's
worst?
not necessarily.
What is the worst thing
Yeah.
that's going to happen? You're going to move back? Move back.
Mm.
So, we put all the chips down and
Yeah.
just moved.
How old were your kids when you moved?
8 and 6.
Did they adapt quite easily? Because they
Yeah,
just loved
yeah,
it. Because the environment
yeah,
and the atmosphere.
yeah. They missed their
Wow.
friends for
Yeah,
about
of
3
course.
weeks, but they're 8 and 6. They'll get over it.
Yeah.
I mean, Ishan, they're both here now with their grandparents, and they kept saying to me the last, handful of days, "Oh, Dad, thank you so much for taking us to San Diego. Thank you. I love this place, but thank you." The only thing I miss from England is our dry sense of humor, the pubs, um, and of course, family and friends.
Yeah.
But again, 90% of my happiness is the weather, and weather like this, I'm out.
Yeah. I know, I completely get it. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And we are all wired different. Like, we've all got a different DNA, right? And genetics. And some people are really affected by the weather,
Yeah.
their mood. I
Yeah.
know people very close to me who are. Before we move on to the next part, talking about your foundation, let's actually talk about your faith and Sikhism,
Mhm.
which you were saying to me earlier. You grew up Sikh,
Yeah.
but you delved more into it. And you said this kind of started at college, but when was the big kind of, I suppose, change where you really dove into it more?
So yeah, I mean, I was I was a Sunday Sikh.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to you drink, smoke, do whatever on Saturday night, and then you go and soak it all up with langar, which is the food that you have at the Gurdwara on Sundays, and then back to whatever on Monday. Just like part-time Christians, they
Yeah.
only go during
Yeah.
Christmas or something. Yeah, it's something that I've always been interested in, spirituality. Uh, I really started diving into it, really understanding the history of Sikhism in 2012, 2000, I think 2008, 2009. I actually started looking into it, but I started taking it seriously in 2012, 2013. And then me and my now ex-wife, we split up in 2015, and one of the many reasons was because I started to take my faith, seriously, living in the image of. Um, Learning about the history of my faith was extremely inspiring. Um, Seeing what my mother's mother's mothers did in Punjab, India, in the 1800s, what my gurus did from the 1400s. You know, um, never has there been a faith where there's 10 gurus, and the ninth guru was beheaded in Delhi, um, for for the Hindu faith, because the Mughal Empire wanted to force convert everyone to Islam. And the emperor at the time, who was the same emperor who built the Taj Mahal, um, he said, "Give me a king's head, and you can keep your faith." And my guru did that. That's like Jesus Christ giving his head for another faith. And there's countless stories about that. The gender equality that took place is a big deal today. Yet in Sikhism, women can learn how to fight. Women can do exactly the same as what men
Mm.
can do. That was hugely inspiring. And yeah, just learning the history of it. And I just dove deeper and deeper into it. And in 2015, when I moved to San Diego, my other thing was I was drinking a lot of alcohol because of the Punjabi lifestyle, smoking cigars and drinking alcohol, taking drugs, snorting coke, doing all of that. And every time I tried to pull away from it, my friends used to go on, have another one.
Mm.
Watch, I'm going to get you tonight. I'm going to get you. And then I ended up drinking again. I'm back to square one every weekend. Moving to San Diego, this was a fresh start as well. So one out of many reasons why I moved to San Diego was to get rid of alcohol, get rid of drugs, alcohol, all of those things, and live a clean life. And this was a clean slate. And that's what happened. And it was the best, again, it's the best decision I ever made. And um, I continue to dive deep into it. And, it's kept me, I feel content. I always used to run for happiness, but everything has an opposite and equal reaction. And contentment in my life is paramount.
Mm-hmm.
And that that rubs off to my children and my wife, and my wife rubs off on me. And contentment is what I'm after. And life is wonderful.
Yeah.
It truly is.
I love that word, content. I think I agree with you. It's because happiness can be fleeting, right? It comes in and out. We can't all be happy all the time. But being content is just the best feeling.
Yeah.
You sleep the best,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
I'd love to continue and talk about your faith and so you can learn more about it, because I would love, and if we have time more at the end, let's do that. But linking into this, let's talk about your foundation and how this came to be and where you're at
Absolutely.
now, which is just honestly, Dav, like the most amazing thing that you've done.
Thank you, mate. So in 2015, we moved to San Diego. I've got 2 studios in San Diego. I've got a studio in the UK that's falling apart because I'm not there anymore. I've got new teachers, sold that off, thankfully. And obviously my 2 studios in the US is falling apart because the previous studio owner, he was the one who kept it up.
Yeah.
And now this new guy's come in from England and it's like, oh, okay. So I need to start rebuilding all of that up. And whilst that's happening, we're getting a divorce. So, the boys were there. Vanita was there. And I said to Vanita, I want you guys to stay, therefore take everything. So it was my decision. I said, Vanita, take everything, all the money, all the businesses, everything. I'm happy to start again, because I'm starting again because of my faith and everything. I'm fine with that. And in my head, I said to myself, if I am going to live in the image of my God and Guru, then I want to live. If there's a single grain of sand that I can have, that what my gurus did in service, then I want that. So then started I started thinking, what can I do? I started to go to Christian churches, helping, serve. And, I got this business headset. So I'm thinking, well, we need to expand or we need to grow or both. And, a lot of organizations, religious or otherwise, were doing their thing and not willing to expand or grow. So then I said, well, why don't I just start my own organization, expand and grow? So then that's where Duwara Consciousness Foundation started. And Duwara basically is a Sanskrit or the Gurumukhi word for the doors or the gates. So it's the Gates to Consciousness Foundation, basically in English. Started that and got it registered in 2018. So from 2017, I started, working on DCF, the foundation of it. What does it look like? And at that point, in April of 2017, I met my now wife, Hari Simran, who you just met. And my first conversation with her was, I've got this organization. This is what we're going to do. And I want to expand on that. And she went, fabulous. Within 2 weeks, we were engaged. And within the year, we were married. And whilst all that was happening, we made DCF official. And we just went out there and said, hey, we're going to get a food truck. Nothing like this has ever happened in San Diego, California. We want to get a food truck and we want to serve everybody and anybody who gets in line, right? However much they want, and it's going to be fresh food, right? The beans, rice cooked from scratch, onions cooked from scratch, connected with companies that make tortillas, and went out there. The San Diego Union Tribune did a piece on us, and we said we need donations. People donated, and we put our own money in. Started a food trailer food trailer deal through DCF, and we started that in 2019, and COVID hit in 2020. Yeah. So we were feeding people for many, many months, getting our name out there, and then COVID hit and everything closed down. Religious organizations, not other nonprofits. So this was, we had only a few $1,000s in the bank, and I said, we need to feed people. They're on the streets, no one's feeding them. And Harry Simon says, we've only got $2,000-3,000 in the bank. I said, fuck it, I don't care. Let's just do it. We did it, put it on Instagram, Facebook, and people were like, whoa, these guys are out there. They don't care if they're going to die or not. We went out there 6 days a week, giving, homemade burritos out to anybody and everybody who got in line. And if you go onto DCF's Instagram page, you'll see there's a line that goes all the way around the block of people. And we served 700-800 burritos a day for 8 months straight. And we got huge recognition for that. And whilst we were doing that, we were telling people we want to build a shower trailer, we want to help people out, because we knew that once COVID was over, because no one knew how long it was going to take, but we knew once it was over, everyone's going to start serving food. It's the first thing people do. But what people don't do is a shower trailer, don't give, cleanliness. So then we started campaigning for that. And, we built the largest shower trailer in definitely California state, but I genuinely believe it's the largest shower trailer in the country that specifically serves the homeless. 6 shower stalls with 1 ADA compliant in the back with 2 washer dryers. Started that, built that in the end of 2020. And when people came and started serving food again, once COVID was over, we started giving showers to everybody and anybody in need. And we actually had a passenger van that got people from A to B as well. So we had a passenger van deal. And the whole reason these were the stepping stones for us to get to our final project, because ultimately people need homes. And the final project was to buy a property, to build housing, and build businesses on that property to help high functioning people. And the reason why we specifically go for high functioning individuals is because when people first go into homelessness, they're first sleeping in their cars. They're still saying that they're going down that dreadful road, but they're not mentally hurt enough, or they're not addicted enough to get the government to help them, because the government is dealing with the people who are in the trenches. Those who are going into the trenches, they're okay. We need to deal with these people. So then that's where we come in. And what we do is we hopefully pick these people up before they go into the trenches. And those individuals who've gone through the trenches and coming back out, where do they go? We're going to, so we can help pick those individuals up as well. So being an independent nonprofit, this is something that we can do. The government has tried to be partners with us. We don't want to be part of the government, because the government will do low functioning individuals, and we can't do that. Personally, we can't do that because we don't have the capacity. And secondly, the government's doing it. Whether you agree with the way they're doing it or not is obviously individuals' thought process. But we want to deal with high functioning people. There's people who work in Starbucks, people who are working in sandwich shops, Subway, who are homeless today, and they're living in their cars. And I know them, and those are the individuals that we really want to help. And now we have 120 acres. We want to build a regenerative agroforest farm. We've got the permit to build a handful of houses. And we actually start that project. We start building the foundation and put the septic tanks in, starting in the next handful of weeks.
Wow. And I imagine what will happen eventually is some of those people that go to live there will probably want to be involved in it and part
Mhm.
of it eventually because they've been helped.
Yeah,
Usually when you've been helped, you want to help other people, right?
absolutely.
And so it will spiral. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And I think, I mean, we know there's such bad homeless problems everywhere now. And I see it more in London, but particularly in California, I've seen it. I mean, particularly in San Francisco is where I was most like, whoa, but I've obviously seen it in LA. So how amazing for people like you to, be out there doing those things. Can I ask you how you're so busy when you're doing that and you're serving people, but you probably don't really get to sit back and feel it. How does it feel?
I don't
When
get back
when
to say. I mean, I'm so
Yeah,
thankful when individuals like yourself say, "Wow, what you're doing is fantastic. You know, thank you so much for your service, so on and so forth." I get it a lot, and honestly, I don't think that I've had the time to sit. I've got so much going on
yeah,
that I don't get to sit back and think, "Oh, I'm doing a really good job here."
yeah,
You know, it's not. In Sikhism, they say seva, and seva literally means selfless service.
mm-hmm,
I'm going to help you without any intentions of you helping me.
yeah,
It's not I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
yeah,
I'm going to do it blindly. And constantly in the Guru Granth Sahib, it says, bow to the dust of the feet of the lowest of the low, and it's 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 extremely humbling, and it it gives me contentment to sleep at night. You know, it's and when you do it with no expectations of getting something back, it's wonderful.
yeah,
It truly is. And I
yeah,
have to be I'm very thankful because of the position that I'm in. I can do that because I've got food on the table. You know, I'm very fortunate from that point of view. My boys are fortunate to have food on the table, So my household is set. So when my household is set, I have the opportunity to help others.
yeah,
And that's where my personal faith and life has gone towards. And I'm extremely thankful that I have a wife that supports that, children who support that, family members who support that.
yeah. There's so many other things you do as well. I mean, any of the other things you want to talk about, or do you feel like they're just things that run kind of alongside
Yeah, I
what you
mean,
do?
myself and my wife, we're huge investors in space, AI, military. We do a number of investments that helps us tick along in life. We run a CPA firm in the US, which puts money in our pocket, and those are the things that help us continue to do
Yeah,
those. I mean, we're in the middle of starting a startup company, which is is mental, but we've
yeah.
got a great idea, and it's going to take a couple of months to do it. And if it works, then we'll have hopefully even more
Well,
money and more
what's
time.
great is you're technically doing these businesses, but you're investing them back into something so
Yeah,
brilliant and something that you care about. Um, and I think it's interesting you say that as well because I think if you work in non-profit and you are doing something like that, you can't constantly be emotional because it would be so hard to get through it as well and
yeah,
to always because my sister works in housing people. She's always worked in that, and she's quite resilient to it because if you work in that field, you have to be because you're
you have to be.
constantly coming up against quite horrific situations and stories every day.
I mean, when the missus first went downtown San Diego, and we were getting out of the food trailer and serving people who were sitting down because they're disabled or something like that. My Hari Simran went up to this guy, and he was shooting up, and he was like, yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute, and he shot up, and was like, and he just sat back with the needle still inside him. And that was just shocking to her. She's never seen that before, like right there.
Mm.
And, by week 5 after that, it's like, this is the environment we're in.
Yeah, so much more we could talk about, but I think you've really shared kind of the kind of overview of the journey you've been through. Um, I just want to ask like that question I've asked a lot of people, if, and I think it'll be bigger for you. Like if you look back now at Dav, who was, I don't, were you 18 when you were starting college,
No,
or were you a bit
I think I
older?
was 20.
20. If you look back at Dav, who was just starting college at like 20 years old now, and you might not want to, if you were to meet him and have a conversation with him, what would you say to him?
Be accepting. Be open and be accepting to everything and everyone. And let go of the baggage. It doesn't help you. It really doesn't. And yeah, those are the things that I would say to him.
Yeah,
You know, just be open and accepting.
yeah,
Everyone's going through their journey, and life is a bloody gift. It truly is. And everybody who I met at Art Said has had a major impact in my life. I'm so thankful to everyone. Um, you will not, you will not understand how much you helped me to get here today, because those 3 years, I've heard it over and over again in this particular podcast. Life changing, life changing. And everything that I am today, I'm not just saying this because of this podcast, but everything that I am today, I owe the teachers and to my comrades of Arts Educational School of Musical
yeah.
Theatre. Truly, truly.
Thank you, Dad. Well, that means a lot, and you're part of that. Remember, so when you
Goddamn
look back,
right
other
I
people say it. You're one of those as well.
am.
Do you know what? Question I want to ask you as well. What if someone's listening to this and has been quite inspired by what you've been talking about and what you're doing, and they feel like they just want to do something to help people? What advice would you give them?
You got to just do it. Just don't get, I mean, like any business, um, you can't let too many people in when you start something, because you get too many opinions and you get too many cooks in the kitchen.
Mm,
And the one thing that I have learned, and I always teach this to my boys, is everyone's on the fence, whether you want to start a nonprofit organization or help people or not, or anything, start a business or take that role or not. Everyone's on the fence. Fall off it. Sometimes you're going to fall the wrong way. But the great thing is you can very quickly pick yourself back up and fall the right way.
yeah,
You know, we are very scared of making mistakes, and mistakes is what helps us grow.
mm,
I've lost a lot of businesses. I've lost a lot of money. Um, and it's the best thing. 2008 was the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing. Because now I
mm,
know what not to do.
yeah,
And that's the thing. Falling off the fence the wrong way, now you know what not to do.
yeah,
Everybody wants to, I always say to my boys, they always say, Dad, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. I go, well, ask yourself, what do you not want to do? Start there. But going back to your deal, don't get too many cooks in the kitchen. Don't get everybody's opinion. Um, you know, if it feels good, go for it.
yeah,
And if you fall off the fence and it's the wrong way, then very quickly get yourself back up and you'll fall
yeah,
the right way.
yeah,
It's very difficult to buy a food truck for back before COVID. It was $50,000. Actually, no, yeah, it's 55 grand. And I was speaking to them and I said, listen, this is for a non-profit, blah, blah, blah. We ended up getting it for 38. The 38,000 pounds is 38,000 pounds.
yeah,
Where am I going to get that from? You'll be amazed how many people come out of the woodworks who are just waiting for you to go out there and say, I'm going to do this. Why don't you invest?
yeah,
And it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter. People say, well, I can't do it because I wear a turban and I have a beard and people are not going to, it's bullshit.
mm,
People will help you.
yeah, yeah.
If
I
you're
completely agree.
genuine, people will help you. So you just go out there and do it. Most people everybody stands at the edge of the cliff one time in their life, and you have the option to jump that leap of faith. But most people in my life that I've seen is they
Yeah,
step back,
yeah,
jump off.
yeah.
what's the worst going to happen? You're going to fall on your face. School.
True.
Fall off.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I also was going to say you're one of 4 people in Oya, even though Amy has returned, that actually at one point we're all living in California as well.
Yeah.
So it's, you're not the only one. But if I ever not if I ever, when I visit, if I can get there, I'd love to come down and
Please do.
see it and help and plant a tree, anything that I can do and
Absolutely.
help. And just I will share it online so people can follow it and look into it. Thank you so much, Tav.
You're a darling.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, mate.
No worries.
Right on. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much to Davinder for joining me today. As I said, he was pretty much number 1 on the bucket list of people I wanted to interview and did not disappoint. I will share his foundation in the show notes so you can follow. And if you have enjoyed this episode, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.